As a freckle-faced kid growing up on a dairy farm in Killarney, John McGrath had no idea that his life story would take him from selling tyres, to state politics, to transforming the national conversation around mental health. Like many young boys of his generation, John left school at the end of Year 9 to help on the farm. His father, Jack, was unwell, and John, as the only son, was a much-needed extra pair of hands. John remembers the principal of CBC, Brother Boylan, taking the time to personally visit his parents to try and find a way he could continue at school, but it was not possible. Jack McGrath later passed away while John was still in his teens. Taking on responsibilities at an early age gave John a resilience to adapt to life and its many challenges, the greatest of which was yet to come. After leaving the family farm, John worked in a variety of jobs, first as a factory hand, then a truck driver, a station manager, a credit manager, and a sales manager, before starting his own, very successful business in 1972. A tyre business on Raglan Parade, which he sold in 1986, but which still operates today. It was his experiences as a small business owner which prompted John to make a run at state politics, to better represent the little guy. It was thought that he had little hope in what was a solid Liberal seat. He ran in 1983 as a National Party candidate and lost on preferences. A second run in 1985 resulted in a shock victory for John. Such was his popularity, John was elected again in 1988, 1992, and again in 1996, before he retired, unbeaten in 1999. As an MP, John was the national spokesman for housing, then transport and labour, and also the party whip. He was appointed Deputy Speaker in 1992 and was a chairman of the committees until his retirement from politics in 1999. During this period, John also faced his greatest personal challenge. One of his 5 children, Shane, suffered from a mental health issue at a time when mental health illness was a source of shame and rarely talked about in the community. Shane had battled depression and schizophrenia for 10 years, but despite the best efforts of his family and a GP to find effective treatment, there was little ongoing support. Shane took his own life in 1993. John remembers taking a phone call from the then Victorian Premier, Joan Kirner, who said, "Nothing prepares you for the loss of one of your own children." Those words stayed with him, and John resolved to do whatever he could to advocate for people and their families who were also battling mental health issues. Using his political contacts, he put together the first national advocacy group, Mental Health Australia, and was its first chairman. In 2000, John was then recruited to be the founding director and deputy chair of Beyond Blue, together with former Premier Jeff Kennett and former Labor MP Carolyn Hogg. As John says, by removing the stigma of mental health, Beyond Blue has changed the world.
Since Beyond Blue's come on board, there's been an enormous change in the way people view depression and anxiety and mental illness generally in the community. An enormous change, to the point where people no longer cringe. People no longer want to sweep it under the carpet. People want to talk about it. And people say to you, that badge in your coat, isn't that Beyond Blue? My brother got help through Beyond Blue, or my auntie got help through Beyond Blue. This is over a counter in a shop. Would never have happened 10 years ago, 15 years ago. So we are progressing. And there are several reasons we could go into for that, but by and large, Beyond Blue has normalised discussion about depression and anxiety, and as a consequence, mental illness generally, so that people feel comfortable. That's an enormous advancement, And what that does, of course, is it provides a segue for people who experience these conditions to actually not feel threatened, but in fact feel like, I think I'll reach out for help. And that is just so important.
While John's son, Shane, died never having received the services he should have, his eldest son, Darren, lives with a mental health condition but with the services that are now available, he is, says John, a fully functioning, tax-paying member of the community. John went on to become a board member of Headspace and the inaugural chair of the Mental Health Professional Network, and remained an ambassador for Beyond Blue. By 2008, John's work in key roles with organisations such as Beyond Blue, Headspace, Crisis Support Services, and the Mental Health Professionals Network, to name just a few, was recognised with a member of the Order of Australia. It's an extraordinary legacy, and one that John accepts with humility, starting out as a little skinny, freckle-nosed boy running around the paddocks of Killarney. His message to students who are about to launch into the world is equally as grounded. Do your best and just be kind to each other. If you do your best, then you'll be at your best.